Hi guys, we are going to cover lesson 4 today. I need you to remember that lesson 4 is 4 pages long. I know it's a lot, but you can do it. There's 5 hot questions. I know, 5. I'm sorry, but we got to answer them, got to do it. Um, if you have to, take it a page a day, hot question a day to help you get through it. But we need to cover the late Republic. And the late Republic matters because the later period of the Roman Republic was marked by wars of expansion and political crises. So now we're going to go on to the growth of territory and trade. Roman territory grew mainly in response to outside threats. In 387 BCE, the Gauls attacked Rome. The Romans gave the Gauls gold to leave the city. Wait a minute, what? Did I read that right? The Romans gave the Gauls gold to leave the city? I think I might want to attack if I know I'm going to get gold to leave. So, what do you think that's going to do? That is going to lead to many of Rome's neighboring cities becoming inspired by the Gauls' victory of getting the gold, woo woo, and decided to attack. So here they're going to go after Rome thinking that they're going to get some gold too. But guess what? The Romans defeated them anyways and conquered almost all of the Italian peninsula. So the neighbors decide that they're going to attack because they want gold, but Rome ends up defeating them anyways. So if Rome defeats them, they have just now expanded that Roman territory. It's grown even larger. So we're going to continue. The Roman army was so successful because it was powerful and flexible. As the Republic grew, many people left their villages for Rome. The farms were being worked by the slaves. The owners of the farms lived in Rome or other cities and let others run the farm for them. So here, the territory has expanded. You see that they're doing so well. The economy is doing so well in Rome because of the surplus that they have and the way that they have won so many wars. They've expanded and grown. They're able to leave, go kick back, have a vacation, let others run it, and let the slaves work it. What a nice life, right? These farms mostly grew luxury items and had to import food from other places. So when I say that they're importing luxury goods, I'm talking about the goods that they don't really have there. So they have a surplus and they're trading so much. They've got grapes to make wine, they've got olives to make olive oil. Rome is doing really good. Okay, they're doing really good. So now we're going to do our hot question. In this hot question, you need to answer, how did the growth of the city of Rome affect trade? Think about the fact that they had these wars of expansion and they have such a good life going on in Rome that they don't have to stay on the farms. Other people can work it, they can leave it. How did the growth of the city of Rome affect that trade? What were they getting? What were they giving? Okay, so this answer needs to be 3 sentences long. Restate the prompt, use your capital letters, make sure you got some vocab in there. You guys can do it. You're a tough group. You can do it. So I'm going to let Ms. Hodges come in now and talk to you about, what is she talking to you about? Want to look and see? Oh, she's going to talk to you about the Punic Wars. They're so much fun. They're really interesting. So make sure you guys are listening to everything and absorbing it all. If you have to, rewatch it so that you get the information again. And we will see you in class after our field trip.
Guys, so I'm here to talk to you about wars of expansion. And the ways that a ancient civilization can grow is through physically taking over another land, like wars of expansion, and through economics, trade, and gaining more money. So we're going to talk about Rome and how they grew. One of the ways they grew was through wars of expansion. So we want to talk about As Rome grew, other countries came to see Rome as a threat, and they decided to declare war on Rome. So we saw that the Romans gave money to keep people from attacking them, but they couldn't sustain that. They couldn't do that forever. So they had to come up with a strong army. And now the other civilizations and surrounding city states and surrounding countries think that Rome is a threat and they want to do something about that. So a series of wars begins called the Punic Wars. This is going to be a series of wars against Carthage, which is a North African city. So leaving Egypt, you go west toward the Atlantic Ocean, and right almost in the middle, below the boot, almost right below Sicily, is going to be Carthage. And they are going to fight over control of the Mediterranean. And Carthage was, here's Carthage, going to be right here. And you can see, I don't know if you guys can actually see the cursor on your end or not, but right here is where Carthage is located. And it's a colony that was founded by the Phoenicians, those great traders from right over here. And so it was a place where they could resupply and keep going. So the first Punic Wars, there's going to be a series of 3 little wars. So with the first Punic War, Carthage wanted to control Sicily. This is a great area to control. My goodness, this is a great area to control. If you can control Sicily, you can move freely all throughout the Mediterranean Sea. And so Carthage and Rome both want this area. And after 20 years of fighting back and forth, Rome finally wins and takes control of Sicily. And so the Second Punic War, when the First Punic War ended, the Romans made their general, the Carthaginian general, surrender. And when they did that, there was a little boy named Hannibal who was watching. Hannibal watched his dad surrender and be embarrassed, and all his life he grew up again wanting revenge on Rome for the embarrassment of his father, just like Xerxes did with his dad Darius. So in 218 BCE, Carthage tried to attack Rome, and so they wanted to get back at Rome. Hannibal was a brilliant general. He had lots of great plans. He did a lot of cool things for the Carthaginians, and he led his army and his war elephants over the Alps. So they left Carthage, which is like right in here, and they continued all the way over here, and then they go up, and they're coming down to Rome. In the meantime, this was a long, perilous journey. It took about, some sources say up to 70 elephants. Some say like 20 war elephants with him. But he only wound up with 1 when he finally got there. But in the meantime, Rome knew they were coming. They had scouts, and so they knew they were coming. And Scipio, who's a general we're going to talk about, heard about that and made a plan to go attack Carthage. So the Romans left their city and they went to go attack Carthage, and Hannibal had to rush home to defend his city, defend Carthage. And when he did that, he had to split his army up. Once you split your army up, you're not as strong as you used to be, and that led to the second defeat of the Carthaginians because they were unable to defend themselves in 2 separate places. This time, it was a defeat. It was a great defeat for Hannibal and the Carthaginians, and Rome was super strong and destroyed a lot of their cities, destroyed a lot of their trading posts, and they really had beat them pretty soundly. It was a very convincing defeat. And it rocked on for several more years, and Carthage was not a problem to Rome at all. However, in the Third Punic War, many Roman senators began to feel that Carthage might, come back, just like Hannibal had done. And they felt that if that were to happen, that Rome would be in danger. So they decided to mount an army again and finally go down and totally destroy Carthage and be done with that. This was an absolute defeat. Rome declared war and defeated Carthage again. And after this victory, the Romans totally destroyed the city, killed most of the people, sold everybody else into slavery. And as a result, they now gained control of the Mediterranean Sea. I need for you to put like a circle around that, star that. That is the main cause of all 3 Punic Wars: controlling trade and controlling the Mediterranean Sea. You can follow this little key right here, and it'll show you the different people that were in charge and the different times and different um, lands that were controlled by different people at one time. So the bright orange is always controlled by Carthage. Rome controlled the dark purple. Rome then adds to their territory the lighter purple color, and the stripy color is Carthaginian land that was added to Rome when it was over. So at the Battle of Zama is where this finally all ended. It was a crushing defeat. We'll talk more about that in class and everything that really happened. So here's your hot question. So predict how history might have turned out differently if a bad storm at sea maybe had delayed the Romans crossing right through here to go to Carthage. When Scipio wanted to take his army across there, what might have happened if they had run into a storm? What could have happened? How could they have been delayed? All right, so tell me what you think would have happened, and we'll talk about it later. All right, guys, so apparently I missed a slide. So here's part 2 of what you missed. Sorry about that. Just had a slide that got through. So as the Roman territory began to grow, problems started to arise within the public, and there were some issues between what should be done and what was actually being done. And there were 2 gentlemen, Gragas Brothers, who both served as consuls, not at the same time, but at different times. And so these 2 consuls, it's their job to help the city grow and to watch out for the military and to protect the people. So, and to do what is best. But the Gragas brothers, as a consul, wanted to make some reforms and wanted to change some things within the Roman Republic. And Tiberius, the older one, what he wanted to do was to create farms on public land for poor Romans so that they could have some land back. And this land had been illegally seized by the wealthy citizens. But in response to this idea, the senators didn't like that so much because the land was going to be taken away from them. And other wealthy Romans did not appreciate that idea as well, to have their land taken away. Even though they took it away in the first place, they didn't respond well to that. So what these senators did was they planned to have Tiberius killed for what he believed, and so that would be assassination. There were riots in the street, and Tiberius was assassinated. And then, of course, someone took his place that was more open to what the Senate wanted. And so his brother, Gaius Gracchus, also tried to do the same thing. He believed that it was the right thing to do to hand the land back, and the brothers both agreed on this, and one of them was killed for what he believed. And the younger brother, Gaius, tried to do that same thing. He wanted to create new farms and he began to sell food cheaply to the poor citizens. So the rich were not making as much money as they were before. He set a limit on how much they could charge for food. And this made them mad. The wealthy Romans, again, made them very mad. And Gaius Marius was killed for his ideas as well. The reason that we talk about the Gaius brothers or the Gracchus brothers, Tiberius and Gaius, is because this was the first time that we've seen violence used as a political weapon in order to get your way. Now, in the past, we have seen violence in the way of monarchs and different people being overthrown and replaced. So we have seen that idea, but we've not seen people rioting in the streets and doing that. We've not seen that kind of violence within the city. We've seen violence against the administration or against the top echelon of government, the top layer of government up there. But we've not seen people actually just kill each other in the street because they disagreed over what they believed in the form of a political maneuver. And so this is what happened with these 2 gentlemen. Violence was used as a way to get what you wanted in the Roman Republic. And this worked for quite a while. And you're going to see moving forward how that if the general populace doesn't agree with you, then you could just be replaced and you could be killed. And so we're going to look at several leaders who hold office less than 3 or 4 months, and they're actually killed for what they believe. So moving forward, that's the big idea to take away from the Gracchus brothers.
All right, Mr. Kennedy is going to be with you guys to finish it off here. So let's keep going and use just what Ms. Hodges said on another hot question, which is going to pop up right here. Let me move this out of the way so we can see that. So why was violence more common after the Gracchus brothers more than before? So really take what Ms. Hodges was kind of talking to you guys kind of about the violence and this new thing that's really coming up in Rome during this time period. So go ahead and pause the video right here, and I want 3 to 5 sentences using vocabulary. Let's restate this, no personal pronouns. And please really focus on this, guys. We've been practicing a lot with vocabulary recently, so try and implement it or use it in this question. Why was violence more common after the Gracchus brothers more than before? And you guys answer that. Go ahead and pause it if we need it. And we're going to keep going here. So here we're going to have some information about the Civil War. Yes, Civil War. So Civil War is going to be fighting between people from the same country or the same place usually. So I'm going to read this biography right here about Lucius Cornelius Sulla. So he's going to rule from 138 to 78 BC. And although the two eventually became enemies, Sulla learned much of what he knew about military affairs from Gaius Marius. He had been an assistant to Marius before he became consul. Sulla changed Rome's government forever when he became dictator, but he actually had many traditional ideas. For example, he believed the Senate should be the main ruling group in Rome, and he increased its power during his rule. So here we have a little bit more information. And in 107 BCE, Gaius Marius encouraged poor people to join the army. Marius was a good general, and his troops were more loyal to him than to Rome. So people really followed this guy. Must have been his good leadership abilities. And another hot question. They're just all loaded in this PowerPoint. Why might it be a problem if a nation's army is more loyal to leaders than to the government? So they supported the leader, the person, more than the government. That's like supporting, George Washington more than the cause of America and for this revolution. So think on this. Let's try and restate this again. Why might it be a problem if a nation's army is more loyal to one leader than the overall government? So go ahead and pause it here. Think of what we are kind of learning about Rome in the Civil War period to answer this hot question. And on to Spartacus. So a lot of you guys probably are familiar with this one. Move Mr. Kennedy out of the way one more time. And Spartacus. So Spartacus has an interesting history. He's a former gladiator named Spartacus, and he's going to lead thousands of slaves and demand freedom. Spartacus and his followers created an army. Eventually, Spartacus was actually killed in battle. And this is actually going to have a lasting effect because look what happens next. In response, the Romans executed 6,000 rebellious slaves as an example. They're trying to make an example of what Spartacus really did by leading slaves and demanding freedom. So a lot of violence going on in Rome during this time period. Spartacus is pretty famous. You'll hear about him a little bit later in class. And the Roman Republic. Here we've got a map right here. Let's see if I can use this pen. And the Roman lands right here. Oop, pen's not really working, guys. So you can see the Roman lands right there. I'm sure you can probably see it wherever your device. I'm going to move me out of the way one more time. And based on the map and your knowledge of social studies, what can you infer about the strength of the Roman government and military during this time period? So you can see they control much of the Italian peninsula today. You can see Rome right there in the center, and they kind of so try and come up with an answer about the strength of the Roman government and their military. Try and answer both parts of that. Let's see if. All right. And there is your lesson 4 video notes, guys. All right. Answer this hot question, 3 to 5 sentences. All right. Goodbye. That was really close.